What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Risk, and we're here back at you guys again with one of the best builds in the game. Now, current gen is coming to an end, guys, so I'm gonna be dropping just a few more build videos specifically for current gen, because 2-3 weeks from now I will never be dropping a build video for my current gen players, because obviously I'll be making the switch to next gen. So this is gonna be one of my last current gen builds, and it happens to be a LeBron James build. This build could literally do anything, and probably out of any 2K I've ever, played, this is probably the closest build I have made to an actual LeBron James. So that being said, let's not waste any more time. If you are new, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, want that grind to 8.5K. And if you have not yet, smash the like button if you find this build helpful and you think you could use it and be dominant with it. So let's hop right into the build.
She know I keep the bag on me. How about got a couple racks on me? I'ma hit it, then I dip. No, I do not trust a bitch, cause they all be the same to me. All these thoughts always running through my head. I'ma get the bag, double back for the bread. I'd rather smoke a blunt, kicking back in my bed. And yeah, she in my line, cause she know I'm getting bread.
So first of all, we gotta first select our position, guys. With the LeBron James build, we're gonna select the point guard for the fact of, this whole past season when he just won the chip, he was playing point guard, and he is technically a point guard. So we're going to select the point guard for our position. And you guys already know the hand, and your number does not really matter. Just pick whatever. Now moving into the skill breakdown is where you really see what this build can do. Alright, so the goal is we need to find a pie chart that can pretty much do everything and has decent stats in every category. And when you look through all the pie charts, the one that resembles that the most is probably going to be this third pie chart right here. The one that is, majority finishing and then some shooting and then a little bit of the other two. And looking at the actual attributes, you're seeing here this build's going to have high dunking attributes. It could definitely shoot the ball. It could also have a little bit of playmaking, and then it could also have defense. So it legit resembles a LeBron James build. Now, obviously, technically, when you make a LeBron James build, LeBron should have 90 in every category, but that is obviously not possible in 2K. Now, for the physical profile chart, we're going to select the first one. Why? Because with this build, since we do not have the highest playmaking in the world, we need to make sure we have that high speed, so at some point we can speed boost with this build. Because if we select a pie chart that has a little bit of a lower speed, we might not be able to speed boost. And obviously, being able to speed boost on this build would make it just a whole lot better, especially for like the 1v1 court and stuff. ISOing with this build is going to be incredible. Now, moving on to the actual attributes here, all you guys got to do is just follow along and you should be good. Don't mess anything up. So as you see here, we're going to start with the finishing. Obviously, we're going to max out our close shot, driving dunk. All that stuff is going to get maxed out. And after upgrading all these finishing categories, we should be left with around 303 attributes and 18 finishing badges. So that right there, you guys could already see 18 finishing badges that are going to be able to get Hall of Fame. That resembles LeBron James. All right. Now, next, we're going to move on to our shooting, guys. And for our shooting, same premise. We're going to max out everything that we need to. And with this build, you're pretty much going to max out everything. So you're talking about the mid-range shot, the free throw, the three-point, and then we're actually going to leave that post fade there. I don't think we're going to touch the post fade. When we look at the attributes here and the badges, 16 shooting badges. It looks pretty good for this build. And if we do decide to upgrade that post fade and get closer to 18 shooting badges, that actually would hurt our playmaking and defense a little too much. So with that being said, moving on to the playmaking here, we're going to max out that ball handle and that pass accuracy, which would leave us with 143 attributes and 14 playmaking badges. Now, specifically for our defensive upgrades, you need to follow specifically what I do, because if you guys try to upgrade anything else, you're not going to get as many defensive badges as you can. So you want to make sure you upgrade that offensive, defensive, rebound, in addition to the perimeter, the lateral, and the steal. And the thing is, what a lot of people don't understand is, typically, yes, we don't need really offense or rebound on this build. You could probably put that into interior defense or something like that. But when we do upgrade the offensive rebound, it actually gives us a lot more badge points, which is very important. Obviously, with any build, especially one that's not, 20 defensive badges. When we're on that lower end of the defensive badges, every badge matters, every attribute matters. So that is pretty much all we're going to do with the attributes and badges. And when you saw that, guys, the build looks great just right there, but we are not done yet. Obviously, the body shape, you guys can pick whatever, but for the height, it gets a little bit tricky, guys. I had a really tough time deciding between 6'6" and 6'5". And first of all, as a quick disclaimer, a lot of you guys are probably saying, Risk, this is a LeBron build, why are we going so short? Well, to a certain extent, we have to make this build usable in 2K. If I was to make this build 6'9", this build would be awful because it wouldn't be able to speed boost. The driving dunk would not be as good. The three-point shot would not be as good. The defense would be worse. The build would be unusable. So to a certain extent, we have to make the build usable. And I think at 6'5", the build is the most usable. Because when you do go 6'6", yes, there's a lot of pluses, but at the same time, we are losing a lot in our three-point shot. We are losing a lot in our speed and acceleration. We are losing some in the driving attributes and the defensive attributes. So I think 6'5" is not too short, not too tall, and we're not losing a lot of attributes, which is why I think it's just the perfect height. Now, next, moving on to the weight, you're going to try to find the weight that is perfect in terms of those physical attributes and what benefits it the most. And I don't really like touching my weight a lot because it affects too much of your acceleration and speed stats and sometimes too much of your strength or vertical attributes. So I find out that around 200 pounds, around that area is going to be kind of the sweet spot for this build in terms of the weight, which is pretty much the default weight, and you're just going to leave it right there without altering anything else. Now, for the wingspan of this build, guys, this is why I went 6'5" as well, thinking into the future. If we would have gone 6'6", it would have lowered our three-point shot and all that, which would have probably prevented us from being able to get maximum wingspan. But now, since we know that we went 6'5" and we saved probably 3 attributes there, we do have the ability to actually go with the max wingspan. Same thing with the ball handler. We could go max wingspan and still be able to speed boost in takeover, guys, which makes this build so dominant. Being able to be 6'5", max arms, be able to finish, speed boost, shoot, and even play a little bit of defense. You could not say this build does not resemble LeBron James. This could resemble literally the best player in the NBA history. Like this would be the best player in NBA history. It could literally do everything. Now, with our takeover, once again, the takeover is irrelevant. It's not like we need to take playmaking takeover because all we need is +5, which we get from any takeover, and we'll be able to speed boost. So you could go with literally any takeover. Now, in terms of what I recommend, I wouldn't recommend lockdown takeover because this build is not that dominant on defense. I wouldn't recommend shot creating because it's not that dominant on shooting. So I would recommend something either playmaking or slashing, because playmaking would allow us to get, more ankle breakers, will be faster in that takeover just to make the build more overall dominant. And slashing, obviously you guys know what slashing takeover could do, and with a LeBron James build, that might be the most realistic option. But for me, I'm kind of more of a dribble head, so I'm going with that playmaking takeover. And as you can see here, we have built a slasher similar to players like Penny Hardaway, John Morant, Jamal Murray. Now obviously those are no LeBrons because we're not 6'9", but I mean, for this build, those are great comparisons as well. So now we're going to move on to our badges, guys, starting with finishing. For this build, what I like to do is, obviously, we're going to start with the 2 most important finishing badges in the game on Hall of Fame, which indeed would be Slithery Finisher and Contact Finisher. If you do not have those Hall of Fame on a build that is able to get Hall of Fame finishing, you are doing something wrong. Now, next, I do put Consistent Finisher Hall of Fame, but we will alter that a little bit later. But we are going to keep the badge, just not a Hall of Fame. Consistent Finisher, very underrated badge. I still think a lot of people don't really understand because the description is kind of not telling you what the badge does. It just says it, helps you on poorly timed layups. Well, guess what? Almost every layup you get is poorly timed, which means it will allow you to make a lot more uncontested layups, because a lot of the times we are missing wide open layups, and this badge prevents that. Next, I get Giant Slayer Hall of Fame, since we are 6'5", to make this seem more like a LeBron James build, to be able to make layups on taller defenders, dunk on taller defenders. Giant Slayer will assist us with that, which is why I have it on Hall of Fame. Now, with the 2 upgrades I have available, I like to put it into Relentless Finisher, obviously the next most important badge available, which allows us to finish with low stamina. But on silver is way too low, so what I do is I do lower that Consistent Finisher to gold to then put Relentless Finisher on gold as well, and that is probably the badge setup I will be ending off with. And in case you guys don't know exactly what Relentless Finisher does, and the point of it, like I said, it helps you make shots like dunks and layups when you have low stamina. So after you're dribbling for 20 seconds of a shot clock, if you don't have that badge, you're probably going to miss. But compared to when you have that badge, it's going to kind of make up for you not having the stamina, allowing you to make those layups and dunks. Now with shooting, as you guys can see, very simple: range extender, green machine, hot zone hunter, catch and shoot, the most important shooting badges in the game on gold. You really can't go wrong with that right there. And then for our other upgrades left, I like to go with bronze clutch shooter and gold deadeye. Why? I think bronze clutch shooter for any bronze badge there gives us the most for it, or the most for our badge point, because I think clutch shooter works like when the score is like 15-15 or something like that, it will start to activate then. And then it just gives you like a 10% increase on all those clutch shots, which is very important. And then we know what deadeye does. No need to explain that. Now for playmaking is where it gets a little bit tricky, because we don't have a lot of playmaking badges. We aren't going to be able to speed boost without takeover, so you really got to think about what playmaking badges we want here. Now typically I like to go with obviously the common ones first. We're going to get quick first step gold. Alright, we're going to get ankle breaker and tight handles gold. Those two badges will allow us to create more space, since we aren't going to be able to speed boost. We need both of those badges to help create space. Then I'm going to go handles for days, obviously for the stamina purposes. And then it leaves us with 2 upgrades left, and what I think is the smartest thing to do is put bronze bailout and bronze unpluckable, because I feel like having both those badges bronze, it is a lot better than having those badges not at all, which is why I decided to put those 2 on bronze. Compared to any other badge, won't really make a difference on bronze. And now with these 5 defensive badges, very simple. We're going to go with the gold intimidator, silver clamps, which is really all you need for this build on defense. On the 2s court, that is more than enough. Now for the 1s court, you might struggle when you go up against centers, which is why you might have to wait to hit legend on this build. But this build is already so dominant, as you can see, and if you do manage to hit legend, oh my, the potential for this build is insane, guys. But with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you have not yet, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, hit the notification bell, set it to all notifications. It's your boy Risk, and I'm out.
Lucas.
It's funny how now she be calling me back. She see that I got it, I'm stuck in the trap. 40 autos, let me put it right back. 40 autos and he left in the back. I can't be trusting cause people just act. I get the money, I run it right back. The plug on my phone, I get to these racks. The plug on my phone, I'm gonna make it back. I can't be trusting cause people be switching and stuff.